Did we do okay on number 4? I had some people ask me questions about number 4 and some people didn't. But the people who did ask me questions about number 4 were definitely frustrated. So should we do 4 and 5? Did you figure out 4 and 5? Figured it out. We're good? Lots of people avoiding eye contact. Love it. Okay. Number 9. We got to do this one? Yes? Okay. So a car was purchased for $22,500. The value of the car decreases by $3,200 per year for the first 3 years. After that, it decreases by $2,100 for 4 years. Then it decreases by $1,000 per year until it is no longer worth anything. So what does X stand for? Okay, so X is the number of years. All right, what do you guys want to call the other variable? F of X, T of X, F of X. Okay, so what does F of X stand for? The value of the car. Okay, so the remaining value. Okay, and if we set up this little thing just to kind of think about what's happening, at year 0, you just bought the car. How much is it worth? $22,500. Okay. And then what's the next number we have? 3. So 3 years, and we are going to minus $3,200 per year. Okay. So if you want to write per year, you could. Okay. What's the next part we have? 4 more years. So if you start at 3 years and you go 4 more years, where are you at? 7 years. Okay, and how much are we taking off there? Okay, minus $2,100 per year. And then anything after that, minus $1,000 per year. Okay. So how many pieces are we going to have? 3 pieces. Okay, so F of X equals 22,500 take away, and what should I write? 3,200x, okay. And what are the x values that we use? 0 to 3. So if x is between 0 and 3, okay. Next, we're going to say, okay, it must have been 3 years already, so 22,500 minus 3,200 for 3 years means that we're starting at 12,900. So starting at 12,900, and how much are we taking off? 2,100. And it's not times x minus 3, because we only want to take off that amount for the years that happen after the 3rd year. So this amount right here was saying we started at 22,500 and we subtracted off 3,200 for 3 years. That's how we got this number. And now we're continuing to subtract off some more. It's 2,100 per year, but it's only the years after 3. Okay, so this is if is less than x, less than or equal to 7. So for times when x is between 3 and 7. Okay, so we're going to say, okay, that's what we had. We're going to minus off $2,100 for 4 years. So after that, the car is worth $4,500. And how much are we subtracting off? Minus 1,000, x minus 7, because it's only the years that are past 7. If x is greater than 7. Okay, so how much is the car worth the 2nd year? How much is the car worth the 5th year? How much is the car worth the 8th year? We'd be okay doing those, right? We can plug them in now. Okay. What else did we have an issue with? So the domestic package rate or postage rate, do you guys know what it means for domestic? Like within the country? Domestic postage rate for first class letters is 33 cents for a letter weighing 1 ounce or less, and 22 cents per each additional ounce. Letters must weigh less than 12 ounces to be mailed. 12 ounces or less. Okay, so what does X stand for? Ounces, number of ounces. What do we want to use for the other variable? F of X, what does F of X stand for? Total cost, okay. So if the weight is basically 0, or I guess I could say 0 to 1, it was 1 or less, how much does it cost? 33 cents, okay, starts off at 33 cents. We don't have to add any for between 0 and 1. All right, and then what do we know after that? Plus 22 cents per ounce. Does it go on forever? No. 12. So this actually shouldn't have been an arrow. It stops at 12. All right, so how many pieces do we have? 2. Okay. What should the first piece say? Just 33 cents even if between 0 and 1. And then what's the second piece? Plus 22x. Is it just x? X minus 1. Because you're only paying 22 cents when you get above an ounce. You're paying that for the additional ounces, okay? And then that's if. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
For the first part of the piecewise function, why would it be equal to 0?
So with stuff like this, people sometimes argue, should you even have the equal to with the 0? Should you not have the equal to? I typically put the equal to just because I don't even use my brain. I don't even think about it. If you wanted to do basically all of these problems and not put the equal to, that would be fine. So that was a good question. We make sure to put the 0 there for sure because we are saying it does not make sense to have a negative number, but you putting the equal to or not putting the equal to at that point is like semantics. It's like I just included 0 because I had to. You know what I mean? Okay. So as long as you include 0, you're fine. Equal to, not equal to, I don't really care. All right, any other questions? Okay, so I'll give you a second to finish those up if you didn't. And then the way that we're going to start off today is I made you another worksheet with more of those problems. Yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted more of those. So the plan for today, is to do some more of those problems, make sure we're okay with them, and then we're going to do the problems where we compare functions. So we say like, oh, f of x is greater than g of x at this point. G of x, it's our favorite. It's our favorite day. Piecewise applications and comparing functions. And then tonight, we have a video for finding inverses. Okay? So today is kind of like a pause. We're not going to go any further. We're just going to practice a few things that are typically a little difficult for us. And then we'll move on tonight and tomorrow. Okay? Perfect. Okay, so we are practicing comparing different functions. This function is given to us as a graph, this one's given to us as a table, and then these three are given to us as equations. So when they're asking you to find f of 5, they're telling you that the x-coordinate is 5, and they want you to find the y-coordinate. Okay, so let's look at the table, or not the table, let's look at the graph. At an x-coordinate of 5, what is the y-coordinate? 6. So let's write up here. So f of 5 is 6. Okay, so that's 6. K is an equation. we need to figure out what k of 5 is. So go ahead and grab your calculator. Let's figure out what you get. Yes. 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 Yes, you can. Oh, it's right here. All right, and what'd you guys get? It's a weird number, but it's not that number. Negative 369.2, I believe, is what you should get. Was it 0.2? Yeah, okay. Now, it says to fill in the blank with a greater than sign, less than sign, or equal sign. So which one of these numbers is bigger? 6. The symbol goes that way, and we're done. Okay. G of 4, what do I need to do? Plug in 4, but it's not an equation, it's a table. You can already see what it is. Yep, it's this one. So when I plug in 4, I get 2.4142. J of 4, saying that I take this and I plug in 4. It's just 4. It's always 4. No matter what you plug in, the answer is 4 because there's no place to plug anything into. So it just always equals 4. Okay, so what do I do with the symbol? It eats the 4. The 4 is bigger. Make it eat the 4. I was like, eat what? What are you talking about? And then I was like, oh yeah, alligators. The alligator eats the 4. Okay. Does that make sense how that works? Okay. When we look down here,
That would be completely
all right. So back to math. Back to math. All right. F of x is the quadratic or the parabola. G of x is the cube root. It says where or write the interval for which f of x is greater than g of x. And what does that really mean? What are we actually looking for? What does that mean, though? How can I see that when I look at it? It's above. So this is really saying when is f of x above g of x? What do you guys notice? 2 spots. Okay, starting at -4 approximately. It's probably not -4, it's probably a decimal. And then going all the way to +4?
Like 1.5.
Okay, and then going over to like 1.5-ish. Okay, so if we were looking for the spot where f of x is greater than g of x, it's this part right here. That is where f of x is on top. So it's bigger because the y values are higher. I can see that the y values are higher because it's on top. Okay, so this one is this part right here. Okay. How am I going to figure out these numbers? Plug it in your calculator and you're going to find the intersection. And it's going to be between those. When I do that, should I have parentheses for my answer or should I have brackets? I've heard both answers, so somebody defend your answer. It's not rock, paper, scissors to defend it. You have to know the mathematical reason. parentheses because it does not say equal to. Tricky, tricky. Okay, parentheses. All right, and then the other question says what? Find the interval for which f of x is less than or equal to g of x. So what are we looking at this time? F of x is less than g of x. We're looking for where f of x is below. So if we compare these two little lines right here, g of x is this one, f of x is this one, that means that f of x is below. Right, Ting? Are you texting it to me? Lies. I did not receive a text. Lie. No, don't. Okay, so this is one answer. And then we've got one answer over here as well. So for both of these answers, we need to find those intersection points. Okay. When we use the intersection points on number 8, are we going to use parentheses or are we going to use brackets? We're going to use brackets because of the equal to. Okay. All right. Number 9, it says, write the interval for which both are increasing. What does it mean by increasing? Well, what do you notice about g of x? G of x is always increasing, so g of x is like, okay, as long as it's increasing, we're good with g of x. What about f of x? It increases over here, which is what? Negative infinity to negative 1. Right, because we're using the x coordinate, not the y coordinate. Okay, so g of x is always increasing. F of x is not always increasing. It is only sometimes increasing. Okay, so you have to write the answer for when they are both increasing at the same time. Then you have to write when they are both decreasing at the same time. G of x doesn't decrease, so what's your answer? Never. Okay. All right, so do your best with those. Answer keys in the back. Check it if you need it. Let me know.